Stars Honor. So why Stars Honor? If you're doing this particular class, if you're in Explorers class, under Nature section, you will be asked to do something about stars, okay? So that's one of the reasons why you need to do this honor, Stars Honor. So if you've ever done Explorer, you would remember this. If you haven't, this is one of your requirements, Stars Honor. And what you will need if you are, you know, I mean, I know we're going to do a lot of theory today. You'll see a lot of pictures, but you know something? Let me give you some of the tools you will need if you're going to do this at home. When I was doing this, I was teaching, you know, my son Lupa to do it. I went online and I managed to get this app. It's really cool. If you can get it, talk to your mom or parents about it. It's called Star Chat. Okay, the cool thing about Star Chat is once you paid for it and you've downloaded it on your phone, I don't know whether they have it on Android, but certainly they have it on iPhone. If you go out at night, guess what? The moment you turn it on and you turn your camera or your phone towards the sky, it maps out for you exactly what you're able to see. So whatever you can see through the camera of your phone, you are seeing on the screen of your phone the various stars and where they are located. So it's really cool, easy to follow, and you will not have a problem locating what those stars are. So the first thing you're going to need is your Star Chart app, or there are other apps that you can find that would probably do the same job. The next thing that I found that really, really helped me was a website called What's Out Tonight. What's Out Tonight? Now, we did this in April and I printed this out. This website shows you what you're able to see on that particular month. So we printed this in June. As you can see, there is the globe. And as you can also see on your screen, and it just picks out for you what stars will be available on the particular month wherever you are situated. So the second thing you're going to need is What's Out Tonight. It also comes with a few more pages to explain for you what you're going to need in order for you to be able to spot the stars. So you're going to need the app, you're going to need What's Out Tonight, a sky chart, and you know, you're going to need the, you know, your requirement from your Pathfinder book, so you know what is required for you. Now, you probably have looked about stars, or probably you have studied about stars in school, or maybe at home, you know, or maybe during Sabbath school. What are some of the mind-blowing facts about stars? There are so many, probably as numerous as the stars out there, but I managed to pick out a few. Let's have a good look. The first one is this, okay? Some years ago, the astronomers decided to find the darkest place in the universe that they could see with their telescope. And if you can see that red square, that section, they could not see a lot of light or a lot of stars, you know. So they decided to check how many stars could be in the darkest section of the universe. Could you guess whether there were any stars? If there were any, how many there were? Come on, 2 seconds. Give me a guess. How many stars do you think they were able to see in the darkest spot of the universe at the time? 2 seconds are over. Now I want you to check the number you've written. Pastor Dan, do you see any numbers?
Yes, I can see the numbers.
Okay.
Lisa, you might be surprised. And they're
Go
saying
on.
there is only 1 star, 0 stars.
Okay.
2
Are
stars.
you ready for this? Okay. All right, let's have a look. There were actually 100 billion stars in the darkest section of the universe, and this was in the year 1995. 100 billion stars. and you can see those shining objects. That those are the actuals, those are the actual, let me first call them stars, that they were able to see when they used the telescope to go deeper and deeper into space. But hang on, those were actually not stars. Guess what? When they looked even deeper, they discovered those were actual galaxies. And what is a galaxy? A galaxy, like our Milky Way galaxy, is a combination of thousands and thousands and thousands of stars. So the darkest section of the universe was able to give us 100 billion stars. All right. What then do you think would be the number of all the stars in the universe? Somebody has said, if you were to count the sand of the sea, the sands of the seas in the entire world, if you were to sit down and count the sands of the seas, you would not be able to, to have enough equivalent of sand to the stars in the sky. Isn't that amazing? There are more stars in the universe than sands of the sea. That's fact number one. Number two, the distance from our sun to the closest star, okay? Because when you look up at night, you think stars are quite close by. But the distance from our sun to the closest star, that is called, let me get that, Proxima Centauri, the distance is 4.24 light years away, or 70,000 years away from the fastest spacecraft. So if you get on board the fastest spacecraft today to get to the nearest star to us, which is Proxima Centauri, it would take you 2020, add 70,000 years for you to get to the nearest star to us. Isn't that amazing? How big are the largest stars? All right, how big are the largest stars? That dot that you can see, the arrow pointing, is the size of our sun in comparison to Canis Majoris, which is one of the largest stars that mankind knows. Because listen, there are many other stars that we can't see. Even our telescopes cannot see as yet. But the largest star that we know of today, Canis Majoris, in comparison to our sun, here is the size. If you were to take our suns and put them or stack them in Canis Majoris, you would need 1,420 of our suns to fit in the diameter of this star. This is yet another major factor of the stars that we know of. Now, what does this tell us? When you read about how God created the heavens, the earth, and some people say, you know what, how big is God? How able is God? And especially now, maybe you are in a situation that things are really difficult in your life. Let me tell you something. We are dealing with such huge things in the universe, but listen to this verse in the Bible and what it says about God. Genesis 1 verse 16. Then God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Wow. So God just made the stars also, as if it was a by the way thing. And when we look at what he made by the way, we find it is so vast, it is so big. And it is this God that says what? You are special in his sight. You're so special that God even knows the numbers of your head. Isn't that amazing? I think if there was any reason why I need to know about stars, is to know how special I am in the eyes of God. You are more special than these great and marvelous things that we are studying about today. So, if you have to finish this honor, there are certain questions that you're going to need to fill. And if you have printed this out, great, you can write it down. But I suggest, rather than filling the answers now, listen, let's go together through the slides. And later on, you can go through the slides, you can download the slides, and you'll be able to fill out the answer. Hey, by the way, this slide set that I'm using is an updated version than the one on the website. So when you download the one on the website, it will miss out some of these slides. So hang in there. When I finish this, I'm going to pass it on to Pastor Dejan. He's going to hook it up for you where you'll be able to go and get the most updated slides. Question number 1. This is for your honor. What is the Earth's nearest celestial neighbor? Or, in other words, what is the nearest heavenly bodies to the earth? I'm going to give you 2 seconds. And Pastor Dejan, could you give me some of the answers that you can see?
Yep.
The nearest
celestial chat room at the moment. They're saying moon is the closest celestial neighbor.
Moon. Any other answer?
Okay, let's have a look. I'm checking.
Okay.
Pastor Quisa, it seems to me they're saying moon.
Moon. All right. Okay. Are you ready for this? The answer is the moon. You are correct. Great, guys. Great. Okay. The moon is the nearest celestial body to us on the earth. Second question. What do you think is the distance from here to the moon?
All right.
Quick,
the chat
2
is
seconds.
Yeah, let's have a look.
From Earth to the moon.
We're getting now more and more answers on Facebook as well, or as on Zoom. So people are saying 100 million, 240 million. Let me just have a look. So there are very big numbers, Pastor. So what is the right answer?
Okay. All right. Okay. Check your answer. The answer is 240,000 miles. 240,000 miles. So not so much, a million or even 500,000. It's 240,000 miles. But that's a long way. That's a great long way, because from here to London, it's about 400 miles. Can you imagine how many times you'll have to go to London to get the same distance as to the moon?
My car, Pastor Quisa, at the moment, my car has 120,000 miles on the clock. So that means I managed to reach halfway to the moon, it seems to me.
You're still in the way there. Okay. All right. Okay. Yes. 240,000 miles from here to the moon. All right. Next question. You probably have been on the seashore. And the question to you is this. So some of you may know the answer. What governs the tides in our seas? What is it that makes the tide come in and makes the tide go far away from the earth? Quick answers. What do you think?
Pastor Quisa, our Pathfinders are fast today.
All right, go ahead.
I would say 99% people are saying moon and gravity.
Moon and gravity. Oh, wow, great. That's the right answer. The moon and gravity is what affects the tide. How does this happen? Remember, the earth is evolving or going round the sun. While it's doing this, it's also spinning on its own axis. So as it's traveling, it's also spinning on its own axis. And next to the earth, you've got the moon. And what is the moon doing? Every month? Well, we say 1 month. That means the moon has gone round the earth in 31 days. So every time the earth is rotating on its own axis, the moon is also in motion around the earth. Guess what happens? If you've ever ridden your bicycle on a track, or those ramps, and you go on a bend, what happens as you go on a bend? You feel like something is pulling you towards the center to fall, okay? Or if you're driving, or if you're driving or you're riding in a car with your parents and they're going really fast and they get to the bend and they do a real quick turn, what happens to the people? You see everybody swing. Okay? So if you're turning left, they swing away from the center or from, the center of the curve, of the corner. If you have done physics, you will know that there are forces that do that. All right, Pastor Dejan, is there something you need to share? Just let me know, okay?
No problem at all.
Now, when the earth is busy going around to give us 124-hour days as it's spinning on its own axis, and next to the earth, the moon is also spinning, guess what happens? The same thing happens to the water as it happens to you on a bend as you're driving. As the earth is spinning on its own axis, and as the moon is going around the earth, the moon is drawing the water away from the earth because of gravity. And as the water is drawing, when the moon is nearest to the earth, the water will go towards the side of the moon. But because the earth is spinning, so when the earth spins at one point, so if you are at one particular location and you stay there long enough, after certain hours, you will notice that the water will come into the land. Why? Because the earth has spun and the position you're standing is now far from the moon and the water is not drawn towards the moon. But if you keep standing, as time goes by and the earth keeps rotating, it gets to the point where you are standing is closest to the moon and the earth is spinning. The moon's gravity will draw the water close to the moon and the water will go far away from you. So that is what happens in tides. But tides can be extremely dangerous because sometimes you may be standing where the tide is above your head. So if you're not careful, if you stay there long enough, the tide can come in and go over you. The water will go over you because the earth is spinning and there is no enough force from the moon because the moon is now far away from where you're standing and the water can cover you. A few years ago, some guys went to pick some sea creatures in a place called Morecambe Bay. Some of you may remember, or some of you were not born at the time. There were quite a lot of them. Many of them didn't know how to swim. And whilst they were picking, the tide had gone all the way far. And this particular place, when the tide goes out, it becomes an island. So you can stand there, you can pick, you can eat picnic, but you've got to time it quick because when the tide comes back, you need to be out and go back to safe place. On this particular occasion, this group of young people were picking, these sea creatures, but none were watching as to the time the tide was coming in. When they lifted up their eyes, guess what? It was the time for the tide to come in, and the tide moves in fast. Many of them perished. Many of them died, and their bodies had to be picked up by the Marines and these Coast Guard and so on and so forth. So that teaches us something. Tides are like sin. Sin is deceptive. And that's why Jesus tells us to watch and pray at all times. Because you can play with sin, it's like the tide has gone far into the sea. And you can be playing and dancing and enjoying sin, not knowing that the tide is coming in, not knowing that your life is dependent or is in the hands of God. And if you're not ready, the tide of sin can come in and envelop you, and you may lose your life in sin. That's the reason why we say it is always important to make sure every day you give your heart to Jesus, because you never know when the tide can come in. You never know when you may lose your life. But we hope and pray that if that happens, we don't want you to lose your life in any particular way. But should that happen, may your life be in the hands of God. The story of Morecambe Bay, you can read it online. Many people lost their lives because they didn't know how to swim, and secondly, they weren't watching when the tide came in. But I pray that you will be watching. All right. The next question that you need to know if you need to pass this honor is, what is an eclipse? What is an eclipse? I'm going to give you 5 seconds and, tell me what is an eclipse, and Pastor Dejan would read out for me. What is an eclipse?
Well,
all right.
Lisa, you were not even able to finish your question when our Pathfinder started writing down the answers. I'm just giving a little bit of time for the audience who are watching on Facebook, because there's about 80 seconds delay. And the answer, and you believe it or not, some of our young people even managed to put an emoji of this, is when they're saying when the moon covers the sun and is between the earth and the sun.
Great, that's correct. Yes, whenever an object in the heavens comes between two objects, you get what we call an eclipse. So let's look at there are 2 eclipses that we know of, and we're going to find those in a moment. But an eclipse is a shadow of one celestial object when this shadow falls on another celestial object. All right. All right, so you will have to do this in your paper. So you need to be able to show what happens in an eclipse, but I've got some examples here for you. Here is the first one. This is called a lunar eclipse. Now, what is lunar? Does anybody know? What is lunar? Lunar? Any answers out there, Pastor Dion?
No,
what is lunar?
We don't have any answers on that one yet.
Lunar is another name for the moon.
Oh, that is right. The answer just came through. That's right. The moon, they're saying.
Praise God. All right. Yes, Luna is another name for the moon. Now, if you can see on the graphic in front of us, on the left hand of the screen is a bright, shining light from the sun. Next to the sun, you've got the earth, and you have the map there of Africa, and Britain is right on top, and so on. The light from the sun is shining on the western part of the globe, and so all of that side of the earth is nice, bright, sunny day. But on the other side of the earth, there is the moon. It so happened that as the moon was spinning around the earth, it managed to get to the east side of the earth, while the earth was in the same line, again facing the sun. So what happens, instead of the light from the sun shining straight onto the moon, it was blocked by the earth. And because the earth was so big, you can see it blocked. So there are 2 types of shadows that reach or that are produced. One is the umbra, which is the really dark shadow, and umbra is the section of the shadow that is the size of the object. So here you can see the umbra is the section of the shadow equivalent to the size of the earth. Next, or on the sides of this shadow, is the slightly less dense shadow. It's called penumbra. That area, the moon, when it passes that area, you can see the sun. You can see quite a bit of the light from the sun. Why? Because it is not come in direct line with the earth's shadow. So you've got 2 shadows when an eclipse happens. You've got the umbra and the penumbra. The umbra is the dark, rich, section of the shadow. And when that happens, it becomes completely dark. And as the object keeps rotating in this particular area, the moon gets to the penumbra section, when slowly by slowly, the shadow disappears, the dense shadow, and it begins to get a bit more and more light until finally it gets out of the way and the moon gets the full, the full beams from the sun. This kind of eclipse is known as the lunar eclipse. This is called the lunar eclipse. The reason why is because the moon is the one that is affected by the shadow. Whatever object that gets the shadow, gives the name of the eclipse. So this is called the lunar eclipse, and that is, you can see the moon in different times as it's crossing the eclipse or the shadow of the earth. All right, so that is the lunar eclipse. There is another eclipse. I don't know if there is anybody here who knows what's the other eclipse that we're going to study about. We've got the lunar eclipse and the... Anybody there?
All right. So I'm waiting for...
waiting for the answers. The lunar eclipse and the...
solar eclipse.
Solar eclipse, you're correct. The solar eclipse. And this happens when the moon, this particular time, comes between the earth and the sun's rays. There you can see it clearly. The moon is directly in front of the sun, but it's also directly in front of a portion of the earth. And because it is blocking the rays from the sun, a portion of the earth misses out on the light rays from the sun. And wherever in the earth that shadow casts you will get what we call a total solar eclipse. The people in that area will not be able to see the sun. All right? And here are some of the things you might remember. We've covered about the two types of shadows. You've got the penumbra and the umbra, okay? Penumbra is the light shadow and the umbra is the dark shadow. Now, here is the question. You have been told that, when an eclipse happens, you got to, you don't want to miss, because it doesn't happen every day. It happens once, maybe, in 10, 20, 15 years, and so on and so forth. What are some of the precautions you need to take when you want to watch either the sun or an eclipse? What are some of the precautions? What are some of the precautions? If you know the answer, please share with us. What are some of the precautions?
So the answers that are coming in, and people are saying, some people are saying cover your eyes, don't watch.
Okay.
Other people are saying sunglasses, which is, you need to clarify that's not a good protection. Is that right, Pastor Chris? So sunglasses is coming from majority of our users.
Sunglasses, right. It's a good try, but sunglasses will not help you. Do you know why? Because the light from the sun is so strong, and the sunglasses are not meant for you to look at the sun, but they are meant to help you, on a bright day, to cast a little shadow, in front of your eyes, or to be able to, to block a little of the sun rays, but they are not good enough to help you to look directly at the sun. So you will need special eclipse goggles or specs. You must make sure that you buy these from reputable sellers, because if you don't, it can cause a lot of damage to your eyes. So do not use sunglasses at all. Do not use sunglasses. You've got to get special glasses made to be able to look at the eclipse, all right? As you can see there. Now, a few days ago, I wear glasses, and I went to my Specsavers. I went to Specsavers, and I had a question. I had a question to ask, and the question was, when they had done the check and the optometrist was next to me, I said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Yes." I said, "Tell me something. If someone damages their eyes or, their retina, okay? If someone damages their retina, can you take an eye from maybe a cow or maybe another human being, and are you able to fix and give them another eye that they'll be able to see?" At that point, he showed a photo behind me of what your eye looks like. At the back of the eye is the retina. This is the sensitive part of your eye where when light rays come in, it sends messages from the retina to your brain so that the brain can tell you what you're actually seeing. When the brain gets the image, it sends the message back, and that's how you're able to know or detect that this is a fly, this is a mango, or this is a coconut, all right? So this is what he said to me. He said, at the back of the retina, there are these fine, electrical cables. They are called nerves, or they're nerves. They're nerve. These are fine wires that carry electrical messages from your eye back to the brain. This is what he said to me. Once those nerves are damaged, there is no way we can repair them. What they can do, they can take out your eye and put a false, maybe someone else's eye, but it will not work. Why? Because the wires behind are so small, so fine that, and there are millions of them. To be able to, to join them, it's practically impossible. So it's number one. When your eyes are damaged, you will not be able to repair them. That's one. So I asked him, I said, with all this advanced technology, there is no way you can make somebody see again? He said, nope, there is no way. So far, there is no place you can go on earth that can repair your eyes once they're damaged. The second thing I asked him, I said, so what happens if I just stare at the sun for a few seconds? If I stare at the eclipse for a few seconds? This is what he said to me. When you're staring at the sun, your eye has a lens. The lens will take the rays of the sun. If you've ever used a magnifying glass, okay, and you focus the rays of the sun using a magnifying glass on a piece of paper, what happens to the piece of paper after a few seconds? Pastor Dejan, do I have any answers there? What happens to the piece of paper if I use a magnifying glass to focus the rays of the sun onto the paper? Any answers?
They're saying it burns. It burns the paper.
Burns. Exactly. Now I want you to remember what happens to the piece of paper. This is exactly what happens to your eye when you're looking at the sun, because the eye has lens. When you're looking at the sun, the eye takes the rays of the sun into your eye and it focuses them to the back of your eye where the retina is. Within a few seconds, it doesn't need much, it starts burning the back of your eye the same like the rays of the sun burns a piece of paper. And very soon after you look down, if you've ever done this, or if somebody has ever flashed bright light in your eyes, what happens after a few seconds, or when you turn off, or when the light is turned off? Do you remember that you see something bright, even though your eyes are closed, you can see something bright in your eyes and it slowly disappears? That is a temporal damage. If you're looking at that light for long enough, when you take off the light, it remains permanent in your eyes. And this is what happens when you look at the sun. Once the sun rays have burned the back of your eye, you will forever have this dark spot or this, hazy spot in your eye. You may be able to go Specsavers, you may be able to go to Optrix and all these other guys, but all they can tell you is, we are sorry, there is little we can do about your eyes. Pastor Dejan, is there a question? Do let me know. Okay.
Yeah, no problem at all, Pastor Chris.
All right. Now, you see this story, it's a sad one. This happened in America. This lady was informed about what you need to do before you can watch an eclipse, what you needed to do to protect your eyes. But you know what? She decided she was going to take a chance and she was going to try. It wasn't going to be long, She was just going to be just quick and then she was going to turn away. And that's what she did. As the eclipse started, she quickly looked at the sun and then looked away. But then, she noticed, the bright light in her eyes and she started seeing something funny. And then she asked a friend, can I have a look? Can I have a look at the eclipse with your eclipse glasses. So she took the eclipse glasses and she put them on, and then she started continuing watching. But there's something else happened. Those glasses were not, they were not safe. They were these cheap ones. And guess what? So she continued watching. And when the eclipse finished, she started feeling a burning sensation in her eyes. And she closed her eyes. She tried to pour water. It calmed down. But when she opened her eyes again, as she tried to read, the page was blurry, just like for those of you who have glasses and you try to read and, things are so blurred. She put the words next to her eyes, but she couldn't read. She went to Specsavers in America, whatever the Specsavers are called in America, and they told her when they looked behind the eye, this is what they could see. Can you see the section between the two yellow arrows? That is the section that had been damaged in few seconds of this lady not caring for her eyes. And this, yes.
Just because of time, we have about 20 more minutes.
Yeah.
I think that young people need to take this seriously and make sure that you keep good care of your eyes.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Pastor, for that reminder. And I'm showing you this graphic so that it stays with you. Do not take chances. Listen to what is said of this woman. For a young woman who stayed too long, on 21st of August, this was some years ago, I think it was 2017, the partially eclipsed sun left a lasting impression on her retinas. You do not want the sun to leave a lasting impression in your eyes. What you want and what we want is the Son of Righteousness, and that is Jesus Christ, to leave a lasting impression in your eyes. This is what I want to encourage you. The sun, God gave us the sun to be able to look at things and see things with, but not to look at it. So use the light of the sun to find out who Jesus is and to know him so that you can protect your son. If you do have questions as we go, do let me know. All right. The next question that you will need to know if you need to pass this honor is, what is a shooting star? What is a shooting star? Any answers out there? 5 seconds. What is a shooting star? 5, 4, 3, 2.
It's already that they're saying shooting stars, the comets or meteors.
They are comets or meteors. Okay, that's very good answer. Shooting stars are actually not stars at all. It's a meteor that is passing through the earth but is burning as it does so. And what we see is actually the meteor burning as it enters or passes through the atmosphere. Remember, these things are passing at such a terrific speed, and there is a lot of friction. And when speed and friction meet face to face, you get temperatures. And with these temperatures, it's the same as when you're driving very, very fast and you brake, very hard. You get that screeching noise of the rubber and the road, and it burns. You get that smoke? That's exactly what happens in a shooting star. Next question. How fast do you think light travels? How fast do you think light travels? I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's time. Any guesses out there, Pastor Dion? How fast does light travels? You're mute.
186,000 miles a second.
186,000 miles a second. That is correct. That is correct. That's quite fast. Imagine when I just said 5, 4, that is how fast light had traveled. 186,000 miles per second. That's pretty fast. And so far, that is the fastest traveling object in the universe that we know of. 186 miles per second. but the Bible tells us that angels of God excel in strength. And you remember when Daniel was thrown in the lion's den, before Daniel reached the bottom, King Cyrus was praying for him at night, and King Darius was praying for him at night, and God sent an angel with such a terrific speed. By the time Daniel touches the bottom, the angel was there to shut the lion's mouth. If you're ever in trouble, if you ever need God to act fast, remember, God has angels that can fly faster than the speed of light. Just whisper a prayer and God will answer. If the light travels 186,000 miles per second in 1 year, how much do you think life will travel? How far does light travel in a year? All right, there you go. 5.88 trillion miles. 5.88 trillion miles. If we round it up, it's 6 trillion miles per year. That is called a light year. What that means is, the distance in the universe is so vast. And for us to be able to see objects from the universe, light has to travel from that object to our eyes. The time the light travels from that object to our eyes is measured in light years. And some of the stars that you will see, if your sky will be clear where you are tonight, that what you're seeing there, that star is not actually where you're seeing it. It has gone past that long time ago, but the light from that star has taken that long to arrive to the place where you can see it. So it's absolutely amazing, the study of cosmology, or the study of the universe and stars. Remember verse 16 of Genesis. God made the stars also. They are so marvelous and so wonderful, but God made them. By the way, how great is our God. But there's something else about all of these objects in the universe. They're not just standing there. They're all spinning at supersonic speed. They've all got their orbits and they're all going round and round, but very few clashes. They have been spinning like this from the time God created the earth and the universe, and none of them clash. If you want your life to be safe in the billions of people that are living around this world, remember, God looks after the stars. He keeps them in their orbit so that they do not clash with anyone. God can keep you in a safe orbit if you trust his life. All right. Now, the next thing that you need to know are the planets. Probably you may know them by name. And just going to pass this really, really quickly, but you'll need to name these on your worksheet. What are the planets? And you need to make a diagram. You can even find some diagrams online that you can use to be able to name. So what are the 9 planets? You remember, you probably might remember them. Here they are. You can see the sun and all the others around it. There used to be 9, but now they've been reduced to 8. All right. So what are the 9? What are the 8 planets? Okay. When I was studying, when I was your age, I was taught to use this particular phrase to remember them. And this is what it said. My very educated mother just showed us 9 planets but one. I had to put the but one now because the 9th one is gone. My, M stands for Mercury. All right. V, Venus. E, Earth. M, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. Then J, Jupiter. S, Saturn. U, Uranus. And the 9th one, which has now been removed, is, the 8th one is Neptune. And P is Pluto, which is now not considered as a planet. So my very educated mother just showed us 9 planets. You remember that phrase, you'll be able to recall those 9 planets, or 8 planets but one. All right, let's quickly go to the end. What is the difference between planets and stars? Does anybody know? What is the difference between a planet and a star? Okay, or fixed stars? What is the characteristics? All right. Okay, check your answers. Planets means each one have their own orbit, or they move around stars, but stars do not have orbits, or they don't. So stars are fixed, planets revolve around stars in their orbits. Okay? All right. Let me move on. All right. Now, one of the things that you will need to do as a requirement, you will need to identify 6 stars and also 6 constellations, okay? 6 stars and 6 constellations. Here are some of what you may be able to see if you get your, if you get your what's out tonight, if you print it. Some of the stars and constellation. Constellation basically means it's a group of stars. It's used to help us to be able to remember or to navigate or to know where the stars are. So many, many years ago, the Arabs decided to name these different stars and constellations. So some of the names you hear about stars, they come from Arabia. And guess what? This happened during the Dark Ages, when in the Western Hemisphere, knowledge was suppressed, the Bible was suppressed. In the Arab areas, they were studying about stars. And by the way, do you remember when Jesus was born? The wise men from the east, from Arab areas, they went to visit Jesus following the star. So the study of stars became very important during the Dark Ages. And the names of the stars that we have today are from Arabia or in Arabic. So let us look at some of the stars that you may be able to, or constellations that you may be able to find on any given night. The Big Dipper. What the Big Dipper gets its name? If you look at the stars, it looks like a big scoop or a big mug with a handle. There's a long handle and a big bowl at the end to scoop some ice cream or some water. That's why it gets the name the Big Dipper. All right. You've got 3 stars that form the handle and 4 stars that form the bowl. Now, when you include other stars around it, okay, it would be called an Ursa Major. The Ursa Major is the constellation. It involves a number of stars around. Look at those stars. Now, if you connect the lines between each of those stars, what does it resemble? It resembles a bear with a long tail. That's the reason why it's called the Ursa Major. Now, normally bears don't have long tails, but this is just to help us remember what the constellations are. Yes, Pastor.
Pastor Chris, we have about 10 more minutes, just to let you know.
Okay.
Is that enough time for you, Pastor Chris?
Yes, I'll go very quickly with
no, it's all right.
one.
If you need a little bit more, it's all right. Because Simon is next, and he is one of the North England Conference area coordinators who probably will give you a few more minutes if necessary.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you. All right, so that is your Ursa Major. It has the Big Dipper, a group of stars that forms part of it. When you group all those stars, connect them by lines, it looks like a bear. All right, those are some of the names of the stars in the Ursa Major. I'll leave you to be able to copy them later. You just need 6 for your requirements, but you can have those more. Then you also have the Ursa Minor. The Ursa Minor is another group of stars that, if you can look at now, this looks like another bowl, but with a little small, a little smaller than the Big Dipper. That's why it's called the Little Dipper. The Little Dipper. And again, when you put the stars together around this, it looks again like a bear with another long tail, but this is called the Ursa Minor. Ursa Minor. They are not the same thing. They are in 2 separate sections of the sky, but one is the Ursa Major, one is the Ursa Minor. And one of the stars right at the tip, or the, you know, the beginning of the tail, is called the Polaris or the North Star. Does anybody know what is so unique about the Polaris or the North Star? All right, let me help you this. The North Star is used a lot by fishermen and skippers because the North Star is right on top of the Earth. It's right at the North Pole, okay? As the Earth goes round, all the others, you know, as you look in the skies, the stars move and change in their location. But the North Star, because it's right on top of our head, on top of, you know, the Earth, it never moves. So skippers, or those who mariners in the many years ago, they used it to be able to navigate and move around the Earth. So it was really, really important. There it is. You probably may need to know. Then on one side of the sky, you've got this W-shaped group of stars. This is called Cassiopeia. It gets its name from stories from Ethiopia, mythical stories about stars, and it's the name of a queen, the mythical queen of Ethiopia called Cassiopeia. It has a W shape, and that's where it gets its name. All right, the main star right at the top is the Gamma star. Okay, here are some of the other you know, constellations. There's Auriga. Capella is an important star that can help you trace that Auriga. It's like, you know, you can see, looks like someone sitting, or, you know, somebody sitting, you know, like as a, you know, a soldier of some kind. And then here is yet another group of stars. This is Cepheus the king. All right. There are the stars. It just looks like a house. When you group those stars, you get the shape of a house. Cepheus is a spring. You see it a lot in spring. This is the name of the husband of Cassiopeia, the Ethiopian mythical figure. Those are some of the names. The key star there, the brightest one, is the Eri. All right, here is yet another one that you'll be able to notice in the sky. Once again, just use Star Chart app. That will be able to help you detect where all these constellations are. And the name of the main star, the brightest star in this constellation, is Arcturus. Okay. All right, here is yet another one. Very, very important and well known. This is the constellation Orion. And you can see those three stars in a straight line. Very important, especially for Adventists, because we will later find out the brightest star in the Orion constellation is the Betelgeuse, and that is where it is. And here are some of the other stars around it. Okay, let me move on. In the book of Ellen White, Early Writings, page 41, what does she speak about the Orion? Here is the quote. The atmosphere parted and rolled back. Then we could look up through the open space in Orion, whence came the voice of God. The holy city will come down through that open space of Orion. Wow. So every time you look at Orion, remember that is where heavenly Jerusalem, or New Jerusalem, will come from. That is the Milky Way. As you can see, it looks like a cloud of dust in the sky. You know, it's a galaxy. It's our own galaxy. Okay, let me move on towards the end. You have the morning star and the evening star. The morning star and the evening star is the Venus. It actually never appears on the opposite side, you know, of the horizon from the sun due to its relative location to the sun. That is Venus. And then you need to find the meaning of Aurora Borealis. Can't see the end of that, but those are northern lights, and they are caused as a result of you know, colliding atoms. Pastor Dion, could you read what is, you know, on that screen? My screen is slightly covered. What is the Aurora Borealis?
Oh, it's just the particles of the sun going through the upper sphere of the atmosphere. So it happens it happens mainly in the northern parts of the planet as these flares come through.
All right, thank you, Pastor, for that. Okay, and one other thing that you'll need to know is what is zenith and nadir. Zenith, wherever you're standing, the zenith is the point right above you, right to the top of what you can see in the universe. That is called the zenith, the highest point. And nadir is the opposite, going down to the center of the earth. So zenith is at the top, nadir is at the bottom. I told you, these are Arabic words. Zenith means part of the, a high road, and nadir is the road below, okay? You need to remember those two items. And well done, Pathfinders. That is the end of our honor. Thank you, Pastor Dion. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Eclipse. That was beautiful. We're gonna just for a moment give a big clap to Pastor Eclipse. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna allow you guys to unmute yourself. So let's give a big clap to Pastor Eclipse. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank
Thank
you.
you.